I read a comment from someone that said they appreciate the content because we try to pack as much data as we possibly can in the videos. So shout out to the audience member. I'm not going to show you guys any, usernames or gamer tags in this, particular instance. But I thought it was very interesting. Now, what was even more interesting is, as a reply to that comment, somebody said, well, yes, that's the case. But they said I'm still biased because I keep saying that Xbox is dominating PlayStation. I wanted to go ahead and set the record straight. I'm not the one that actually made this claim. I'm citing the claim, yes, on almost every single video. But it was PlayStation that actually made this claim. And so for somebody to tell me that I'm biased for saying something that PlayStation said is absolutely crazy to me. My mind is about to break because I'm looking at this industry threats and major shift document that leaked with the Insomniac leak, reported by, news outlets, Just Corden, a bunch of news outlets across the board reported about this stuff. And I'm saying to myself, what is going on here? And we see in PlayStation's own words that Microsoft's comprehensive ecosystem coupled with exclusivity creates greater dominance. Pretty much, they're not just saying that, this has dominated us. They're saying this is a greater layer of dominance. They're saying in here that Microsoft's acquisition of Activision positions it to leapfrog our current pillars. PlayStation themselves are saying, based on these things, day and date threat, pretty much the fact that Microsoft will put Activision games on Game Pass, the fact that it has strategic value across live service games, mobile, and a PC storefront, the fact that Microsoft can supply multi-game subscription. Basically, they've taken their business and they're no longer in the console side. They can now do subscription, they can do PC games, and they can do console games. They concluded that Sony's pillars are dated and behind the competition. They basically capitulated based on their own analysis. This was supposed to be an internal document that we had no idea existed. So when I say that Xbox has dominated PlayStation, I'm just the messenger. To call me biased is actually an indictment on you. So I need for y'all to kind of calm down with that. If you can think it, you can say it. I'm not saying don't say it, but you're kind of exposing yourself for your own bias because you yourself wouldn't even believe PlayStation because you hold a belief about PlayStation that you can't let go of. An audience member wrote this comment and I thought it was interesting. They said Xbox losing the console war equals losing on third-party sales, which means losing on a huge revenue source, the reason to have a platform. Now, this comment is actually framed in a way where we want to deduce what's going on. So I commend this person because, yes, they have lost a significant revenue stream. However, PlayStation acknowledged that they've actually made that revenue stream back up via means like subscription and PC. You see, PlayStation doesn't have the kind of PC presence that Xbox has. They can have it. However, it's going to affect their console sales indirectly. In the case of Xbox, their console sales were already lacking and then they used PC to cover the ground. That's the difference between both their approaches. Because if we go and see, say, the best of Steam from last year, you'll notice that there are Xbox games in all of the different categories. But in the case of PlayStation, there's only one in, say, the top two categories, and then you come down all the way to, I think, bronze. That's where you see Spider-Man and the other games that actually exist on the PlayStation side, of which I've told everybody PlayStation is going to be in this number one spot. That's my bet this year. If they don't make it in the platinum, they're going to make it in the gold with Helldivers 2. No doubt about that. But Xbox has been enjoying this revenue stream. Steam posts this data. It's actually Steam data. They put it as this: the year's top games measured by gross revenue. That means games that made the most money on Steam. So yes, as much as they've lost that revenue stream from the consoles or potential, they've made up that money from just getting 70% on the best gaming platform that you can talk about anywhere, Steam. Now, they said this: while Sony/PlayStation keeps increasing its ratio from, of where games are purchased. This is true. With more console sales, you actually get to make more in terms of your 30% revenue. But wouldn't it be interesting if you no longer needed the 30% revenue, but instead now you actually got 70% of that revenue? This is why PlayStation was freaking out in this document, because when you go look at data and data set by data set, week by week, every by week, that you see Matt Piscatella talk about sales in the video game market, monthly active users, and he keeps posting this data set. Every single time you're going to continue to see Call of Duty at number one. Overwatch will be lurking behind on console at the end or somewhere in the middle. This is the one ending September 28th. If we go down, this is the one ending September 21st. It has Call of Duty on top. Overwatch will be lurking somewhere, and it will be lurking on PC as well. And Call of Duty will be, lurking as well somewhere in all of the mix. And now that revenue stream of 30% that PlayStation enjoyed to a higher degree, Xbox now enjoys what it was getting plus 70% of that. That's where the game got played and the rug got pulled from under PlayStation. It was that simple. PlayStation doesn't have a live service game that's doing that much in revenue. In fact, they even talk about look at this, Sony Impact, massive threats to PlayStation Plus. This is based on subscription. Upward of $1.5 billion of annual revenue threat gap to fill. So they're actually looking at their numbers and comparing it and saying, we've basically been left in the dust because this company brought out big bag of money and bought this thing cash to their advantage in many ways. Because Activision Blizzard King is an asset, a multifaceted asset that they can sell whenever they need to recoup their costs if they want, or it continues to make them money. This is the difference between exactly what it is that we're saying. So this is why whenever people talk about the console war from the perspective of the unit sales, we usually laugh and say, have you not heard what Sony has said? And then this person came out and then added the Game Pass angle. They said, and then there's the whole Xbox, Microsoft not reporting Game Pass subscriptions because it's likely not favorable. Well, check it out. You said likely because you don't know if it's favorable, or maybe you've chosen not to know if Game Pass growth is favorable, or maybe you're fixated on the Game Pass growth that was tied to Satya Nadella's bonus, but there's no way they would have been operating Game Pass since 2017 and it not be profitable at this point, because Phil Spencer made a statement about Game Pass that it's profitable. Now, here's the thing. You mentioned something because I'm sure you were trying to make, a case here, and I thought it was very interesting. Let me go ahead and show you what this commenter said. And I've had these conversations a lot. They said, now, P.S. Phil Spencer is a liar. And then he put in quotes, only these 4 games. Now, that statement has been proven to actually in context be true, but let's just say he lied about those 4 games. What are the legal ramifications of him lying about how many games are going to PlayStation versus the legal ramifications of him saying that Xbox Game Pass is profitable? This one will put him in jail if it's a lie. This one is only, crap posts like this on YouTube and Twitter. That's the difference. So again, you can see where this is a very hard sell for somebody who's thinking about this, because Game Pass being profitable is a shareholder investor, thing. From a guideline for a public company, they cannot outrightly legally lie to their investors unless there's something somewhere in the fine print for shareholders to basically, be able to absorb a lie from time to time. But that's not the case. And even yet still, we knew the Game Pass numbers around this time, which was basically 2nd January 2024, because we had seen 29 million subscribers around 2023, 2022 from the Brazilian Economic Authority when they were doing some analysis. And that's where it somehow went public that Game Pass had about 29 million subscribers at the time. So this particular article here says that Xbox spends over $1 billion a year on third-party content for Xbox Game Pass, and the service itself is profitable. This person said, Phil Spencer says, we have a service that's financially viable, meaning it makes money in Game Pass, said Spencer. We've put a lot of money into the market, over $1 billion a year, supporting third-party games coming into Game Pass. What we see in Game Pass is a service that supports all kinds of games, from the biggest games to the unknown indie games that you didn't know you would love until you played it. If you're an individual publisher, you really have to think about, how do you get everybody to play my game? If this is a lie, this is a fiscal statement that will put him in hot water. And again, like I said, in context, this particular comment was addressing those games at that time, of which, even if I gave it to you that it was a lie, the only ramifications and consequences there are poop posts and, just dragging on Twitter, which has no consequence at all, or bears no consequence from fanboys. So again, I know everybody wants to be fixated on the console sales number, but though, has anyone ever asked the question, how profitable are these console sales anyways? Like, has anybody ever sat there to say, okay, how profitable are they? They can be really profitable, yes, but how long do you actually have to recoup your money? How long does it take for you to be able to get your money back? Important questions that could be asked across the board. But I guess, because we don't have a lot of data for that, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily going to be the most optimal thing to do in terms of looking at, the information from that perspective. So I appreciate the comment. Thank you very much for actually pointing it out there. The huge loss of revenue pretty much pushed Xbox, in my opinion, to where they are right now. Thinking outside of the box and looking and saying there has to be a way as a company to not depend on just your console. And they answered that question. They answered the question so well, PlayStation wants to be a part of it too. I mean, you've seen PlayStation's library, right? PlayStation's library is basically all on PC right now. So PlayStation is also trying to make up that particular same deficit that it's seeing in its sales as well, because third-party games are just bodying PlayStation games all over the place. Like the latest highest selling PlayStation game is 15 million copies. That's God of War Ragnarok. But if I say the latest highest selling, it will probably be Spider-Man 2, right? Because that came out after Ragnarok. That was 12, 13 million copies. In the exact same year, Hogwarts Legacy pulled in 20, 25 million copies. That's a bodying in terms of sales. Now, yes, you reap the 30% of what's sold on your platform, but then the 70%, the 100% of your own, sales have now been choked out by another popular franchise game, of which they're making another one. So good luck to Wolverine. I hope they come out, I hope Wolverine can beat Hogwarts Legacy 2 to the market, because if not, it's going to torch its sales. That's just what's going to happen. Forget that. You may like Wolverine, but man, the Harry Potter fans, they like Harry Potter way more, and they are of different age groups. I can guarantee you, I've seen Harry Potter fans that I'm like, there's no way. Oh, yes, way. So again, this is exactly the challenge in the market that PlayStation is facing, because its single player approach is already outdated. Why? Because everyone's got a single player game that's a hit these days, and they're hitting large. I mean, they're going crazy. And this is exactly where, I think PlayStation is realizing that there's a little bit of market pressure there. I'll talk to you guys in another one. Thanks so much for watching the video. Holler at me in the comment section. Peace out.